This show is part of OnePlace, a daily network of focused briefings across the stories people follow most.
Welcome to your daily roundup. I'm your host, and today we are diving into the biggest shifts in technology, global conflict, and the American economy. Let's start with a quick look at today's headlines.
Vibe coding lets non-coders build apps in mere hours.
The Iran war is driving up American household costs.
Trump requests billions for a new Golden Fleet Navy.
Meta pauses work with Mercer after a data breach.
OpenAI leadership shifts as top executives step away.
Rescue crews face extreme risks for downed U.S. pilots.
Fed official warns war inflation, delays interest rate cuts.
White House seeks $66 billion for new battleship class.
Let's start with tech. The barrier to entry for creating software is crumbling thanks to a phenomenon called vibe coding. We're seeing people like Priscilla Tina, a tech product manager, build functional apps in just 4 hours using AI tools like Anthropic's Claude. She created Postcard Press, an app that lets users send physical postcards from their photos without writing a single line of traditional code. This shift means that the technical hurdle of knowing Python or JavaScript is no longer the gatekeeper for entrepreneurship. Instead, the focus is shifting entirely toward the strength of the idea itself. Experts note that what used to take weeks and thousands of dollars in developer fees can now be accomplished over a single weekend for the price of a monthly AI subscription. It is a massive inflection point for the side hustle economy.
It really is a leveler, but it also means the market is about to get much more crowded. When everyone has the keys to the kingdom, creativity becomes the primary differentiator. Platforms like Livable and Base44 are making it as easy as typing a plain English prompt to generate a live, usable product. However, as the cost of building falls from $50,000 to a $20 monthly subscription, the value of a unique vision skyrockets. We are entering an era where the vibe of the product and the originality of the concept are the only things keeping a creator ahead of the curve. For people like Tina, who saw her Instagram reel go viral with 80,000 views, the challenge isn't just building the app anymore. It is capturing and holding the attention of a global audience in a saturated market.
Now for the economy. The ongoing conflict involving Iran is starting to hit Americans directly in their wallets, and the impact is more widespread than many realized. We are seeing ripple effects across mortgage rates, travel costs, and even grocery prices. Gas prices have already surged to an average of $4.09 a gallon, which is a jump of over $1 since the war began. This is the highest level we have seen since late 2022. For many families already struggling with the post-pandemic inflationary blast, this is an unexpected and heavy financial strain. Experts warn that these rising transportation costs will eventually bleed into the price of almost every consumer good. If the Strait of Hormuz remains restricted, the flow of global oil will continue to be choked, keeping these prices elevated for the foreseeable future.
The situation is particularly dire for those in industries reliant on diesel, which has spiked even more sharply than regular gasoline. We're looking at an average of $5.53 a gallon for diesel, up from just over $3 a year ago. This hits farmers and delivery drivers the hardest, often forcing them to question if their work is even profitable anymore. Beyond the road, air travel is becoming significantly more expensive as airlines grapple with spiking jet fuel costs, which make up a fifth of their total expenses. Even if the war ended tomorrow, economists suggest that prices wouldn't recede immediately. This creates a persistent sticker shock for consumers who are already highly concerned about affordability. It is a compounding crisis that is making the basic cost of living feel increasingly out of reach.
Next, the defense budget. The White House has unveiled a massive $1.5 trillion defense budget request for fiscal year 2027. Representing a 44% increase. A major centerpiece of this proposal is the establishment of the Golden Fleet, which includes funding for a new class of vessels known as the Trump-class battleship. The administration is asking for nearly $66 billion specifically for Navy shipbuilding to expand the fleet and the industrial base. This request covers the construction of 18 Battle Force ships and 16 non-Battle Force ships, which is double what was requested just last year. The goal is to restore readiness and lethality in increasingly contested waters around the world. The budget also prioritizes advanced munitions, drones, and artificial intelligence, signaling a major shift in how the U.S. plans to maintain maritime dominance and deter potential adversaries.
This shipbuilding push isn't just about surface ships. It also includes critical support for Columbia-class and Virginia-class submarines, The administration is framing this as a necessary step to ensure maritime domain awareness. The Trump-class battleships are intended to serve as flagships, integrating advanced deep strike weapons with revolutionary systems of the future. Beyond the high-profile combat vessels, the budget also seeks funding for sealift ships, tankers, and hospital ships, along with significant upgrades to shipyards to address long-standing production delays. While the Navy claims these ships will provide a decisive advantage, the sheer scale of the funding request is historic. It underscores a massive commitment to naval power that hasn't been seen in decades, aiming to provide what the administration calls dominant firepower to meet the challenges of the coming years in global maritime theaters.
Moving to AI security. Meta has officially paused its partnership with the AI training startup Mercor following a significant data breach. Mercor, which was recently valued at $10 billion, plays a crucial role in the AI ecosystem by providing high-quality training data to tech giants. They utilize thousands of human contractors and experts to refine AI models. However, a security incident involving a supply chain attack on the open-source project Light LLM compromised their systems. While Mercor stated they moved quickly to contain and remediate the incident, the breach was serious enough for Meta to halt all ongoing work while an investigation is conducted. This highlights the growing vulnerability of the AI supply chain, where even highly valued startups can become weak points for the world's largest technology companies. It is a stark reminder of the risks involved in data outsourcing.
The fallout from this breach could be substantial, given Mercor's position in the market. They are currently working with leading third-party forensics experts to understand the full scope of the attack. The startup emphasized that the privacy and security of their customers and contractors are foundational, but being one of thousands of companies impacted by this specific supply chain attack shows how interconnected these risks are. For Meta, the pause is a precautionary measure to ensure that their own model training processes aren't further compromised. As AI companies race to scale, the pressure to secure the vast amounts of data being processed by human contractors is becoming a massive operational challenge. This incident will likely lead to much stricter security audits for any third-party vendors involved in the sensitive work of training next-generation artificial intelligence models.
Now, OpenAI's leadership. OpenAI is undergoing another significant leadership reshuffle during a very pivotal time for the company. Longtime Chief Operating Officer Brad Lightcap is moving into a new role focused on special projects, reporting directly to CEO Sam Altman. His new focus will be on expanding enterprise software sales through partnerships with private equity firms. This move comes as Denise Dresser, the recently named Chief Revenue Officer, takes over many of the COO responsibilities. At the same time, the company is dealing with the temporary departure of two other senior executives due to health reasons. Fidji Simo, the CEO of Applications, is taking medical leave for a neuroimmune condition, and Chief Marketing Officer Kate Rauch is stepping down to focus on cancer recovery. These changes are happening as OpenAI prepares for a potential IPO and navigates intense competition from rivals.
The timing of these departures is notable, as OpenAI recently raised $122 billion at a staggering valuation of $852 billion. The company is also exploring new revenue streams, including testing advertisements within ChatGPT. While executive turnover isn't new for OpenAI, especially after the board drama in late 2000, the loss of key leaders like Rauch and Simo, even if temporary, adds a layer of complexity to their growth strategy. Rauch's public statement about choosing health and family over pushing harder resonated with many in the industry, but it leaves a gap in their marketing leadership. Despite these shifts, OpenAI maintains that they have a strong team focused on their core priorities: advancing research and growing their user base of nearly 1 billion people. They are clearly trying to project stability during a transition.
Turning to the front lines. A high-stakes rescue operation took place recently after a US F-15E Strike Eagle was downed by enemy fire over Iran. While one crew member was successfully recovered by American forces, the status of the second remains unclear. This mission highlighted the extreme dangers faced by Air Force Combat Search and Rescue crews, known as CSAR. These teams are trained to fly low and slow through hostile territory to recover downed airmen who may be injured or evading capture. During this specific operation, 2 search and rescue helicopters were actually hit by enemy fire, though they managed to return to base. Additionally, an A-10 Thunderbolt II was lost in Kuwait after taking hostile fire, though that pilot was safely recovered. These incidents underscore the intense risks inherent in modern aerial combat and the bravery required to bring personnel home from behind enemy lines.
What makes this particular rescue so remarkable is that it was conducted in broad daylight. An Air Force pilot we spoke with described a daylight mission into contested territory as being on a complete other level of danger. Ideally, these missions are carried out on the darkest possible nights, to avoid being spotted by enemy weapons that lack advanced night vision. Flying in full light exposes the rescue crews to a variety of threats, making them easy targets. The decision to go in during the day reflects the extreme urgency to locate the missing crew member. It is a terrifying prospect for the pilots involved, yet it is exactly what they are trained for. As the conflict continues, these CSAR teams remain the lifeline for every pilot in the air, operating in conditions that most would find absolutely unthinkable.
Back to the Fed. Chicago Fed President Austin Goolsbee is sounding the alarm on how the Iran war could derail plans for interest rate cuts. Before the conflict began, Goolsbee was optimistic that the Federal Reserve could lower rates multiple times in 2020. However, the energy shock caused by the war has significantly complicated that outlook. With gasoline prices hitting $4.09 a gallon, inflation remains well above the Fed's 2% target. Goolsbee warned that if there is no improvement in inflation due to these rising energy costs, any decisions to cut rates might be pushed off until 2020 at the earliest. This is a major shift in sentiment, as the Fed had previously indicated they still expected at least one cut this year. The upcoming Consumer Price Index report is expected to show further acceleration in prices.
Private economists are also starting to align with this more cautious view. Market trackers now predict that the Fed might not issue a single rate cut in 2026, a sharp departure from earlier expectations. The pressure on household budgets from these higher energy prices is a double-edged sword. It fuels inflation while simultaneously threatening to derail consumer spending. Goolsbee emphasized that he is speaking for himself and not the entire committee. But his concerns reflect a growing consensus that the oil shock is a game changer. Many Americans were already feeling financially pinched before the war, and this added strain makes the Fed's job of balancing price stability and economic growth much harder. If the war continues to drive up the cost of living, the era of high interest rates may last much longer than anyone had hoped.
Finally, the Golden Fleet. The White House is doubling down on its naval expansion with a specific request for $66 billion to build 34 new ships. This is a core part of the broader defense budget and focuses heavily on the Golden Fleet initiative. The proposal includes the development of a new class of battleships that President Trump has been touting as a way to project American power globally. To fund this massive increase in naval capability, the White House is proposing a 10% reduction in non-defense spending. This trade-off highlights the administration's priority on military readiness over domestic programs. The request for 34 ships is a significant jump from previous years, aiming to revitalize the American shipbuilding industry, which has struggled with delays. It represents a fundamental shift toward a more aggressive and well-equipped maritime strategy for the coming decade.
The Golden Fleet isn't just a name. It represents a strategic vision for a Navy that can deliver what the administration calls dominant firepower. By requesting $66 billion, the White House is signaling that it wants to move past the production bottlenecks that have plagued the Navy for years. This funding is intended to cover everything from the high-tech Trump-class battleships to the essential support vessels that keep a fleet operational at sea. While the 10% cut to non-defense spending will likely face significant debate in Congress, the administration is making it clear that they view naval superiority as the top priority for national security. If approved, this would be one of the largest investments in the Navy's physical fleet in modern history, fundamentally changing the scale and scope of American presence in contested international waters.
That's our look at the stories shaping your world today. For more daily briefings on the news that matters most, be sure to follow the show. We'll see you back here tomorrow.